Speaker's Corner aboard the Villa Vie Odyssey, hosted by Kit Cassingham.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mrs. Cassingham.
Since this is all about energy, so you guys are going to warm up tonight. I just know it. Did you have a good day?
Yeah.
Me too. Kevin Dineen has created growth mindset courses and videos with his wife Lindsey for the past 6 years. One of those projects, the 21-day Mindset Detox Challenge, is still available on Udemy today. He has also co-developed the Explorist Mindset, a framework for curiosity, resilience, and growth. So let's welcome Kevin Dineen as he talks about solving the hidden energy crisis with positive energy and juggling?
And juggling.
Come on in, Kevin.
Thank you all for joining me tonight, and welcome. So tonight we are going to be solving the hidden energy crisis, but we're actually going to be solving the hidden energy crisis within us, and solving the crisis that is created when there isn't enough positive energy in others. And so we're going to take a look at that. I'm going to start by telling a story. The story I'm going to tell is sort of interrupted my path in the mindset sort of pathway that I was taking. I'm going to tell a story about how I got derailed pretty severely. And I want to do that just to help kind of demonstrate that when we meet people, I find sometimes, especially for me, I imagine other people do this as well, I have a tendency to kind of forget that they have their own story and they don't already know what I'm talking about. They don't, they didn't experience the same things I did growing up, et cetera, et cetera. And so I kind of wanted to just take this time for all of us to kind of keep that in mind. And I felt like the best way to do that was to tell my story. That's the first time I've told this story in a public setting. 10 people in the world know this story, so bear with me if I lose it here and there. But the story starts in 2021 when my wife Lindsey and I decided to work as digital nomads. So we decided, we were both working remotely, that we could go and work from anywhere. So we did that, and that was going very well for a few years. And then we heard about the Odyssey, and we were like, this is right up our alley. We can work remotely, we can visit all these different places in the world, and we were sold. Well, right about that same time that we were sold on the Odyssey, Lindsey got a job opportunity to help a dance studio get launched, but they wanted boots on the ground. They wanted her to do everything. They wanted me to build the floor. I did the website. It was a big project, but they wanted us there. And so we said, hey, we can do this, but we only have a year because then we're going to be hopping on this ship. And so we gave them from from July 23rd to July 23rd, and then we left that day to come board the ship in Anchorage. So it was exactly a year to the day. So we fulfilled our promise. But what I wanted to talk about is one of the experiences that we had. So this studio was to be started in coastal Oregon, which is beautiful. Please visit. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And so we kind of get settled. We found an apartment that we could stay at that was furnished, but they only had availability for a couple of months. So we did our first couple of months at one apartment, and then we switched over to this other one. Well, as soon as we got settled in this second apartment that was to be our longer term one, I started kind of wanting some canine companionship. I was missing hanging out with doggos, and so I had the bright idea to go and walk dogs, and for the local humane society. So I would go and I would pick up a dog, and we borrowed an SUV. So they gave me the big dogs that were harder to adopt out, and that they wouldn't. They had some volunteers, some elderly volunteers that would walk dogs, but they couldn't handle these bigger dogs. And so it just happened to be that my timing was perfect. And so these dogs would hop into the SUV with me. We'd drive up a mountain. We'd go for a hike, and then what I would do is I would take pictures of these dogs in really cool settings for their social media. And I'm thinking, okay, this is one thing I can do to help give these dogs a leg up and get them some attention. And so we would go on our little outings, and then I would take them back to their temporary home, and then I would go and edit the photos. I'd make them look nice, and then take out the leashes and that sort of thing. And so I want to start my story with sharing some of this. So in the science of positive energy, it's well known in the science world that pictures of cute dogs actually make you happier. And so we're going to start with that. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about these guys. So this is Bullet. She is named Bullet because in that front shoulder area, she has a bullet lodged in her bone that the vet felt like was better if they just left it in. And so it's been there for about a year. But there were some health concerns still, and so people were kind of passing her over. And so after this photo shoot, I think it took 3 days, and then she was adopted. And this happened to be out on a beach near, actually pretty close by. The next one, this is Gemma. Gemma actually had been she had been there for I think 400 days, and she was the oldest resident as well. And the problem with Gemma, she wasn't getting adopted because she was too good. People would motion, "Oh, go over here," she would go over there, and they thought that she wasn't going to be very fun. And so I took her on a hike. She had a great time. This picture showed her adventurous spirit, and we actually went on 2 trips. The first trip got a lot of good engagement on the socials, but she still hung around. She had a couple of people try her overnight, and again, that's where I found out, oh, she's just too good. People think she's just an older, kind of boring dog. And so a couple weeks later, we went out again, and on this one, she was adopted a couple days later after this picture was taken, and that one was a forever home so far for her. And then this guy was a lot of fun. I won't go. My whole talk isn't just talking about dogs, but I did want to talk about a couple of the special ones. They're all special, but to me, this particular image, gosh, it's a little dark, but there's a bird flying in the background. You've got the sunbeams coming in through the cloud right over his head, and this one got so much social media attention that he was I was actually selfishly sad that I wasn't going to get to walk him again. But he was gone the day after these posted. And so, and I had to share my outtake pictures with him. We had so many outtake pictures because he kept wanting just to be really close to me. And he was getting too close to the camera that everything was out of focus. So, and then this guy, he had 3 legs, and he was getting looked over because people thought that he wasn't going to be able to be as active. And so I took as many pictures as I could of him being in just normal situations. Yeah, he can go into the water on the rocks. He's fine just laying in the laying in the water on the rocks, and so he was adopted shortly thereafter as well. This was the first one. This is Buddy. He was adopted right away. We've got Zeus, and we've got Marco with his one ear that sticks up. So at the time that I was doing this, we had been traveling around and hadn't really had a strong community. And so when we stopped at this coastal community in Oregon, doing this actually helped provide me with that sense of community. It was sort of like the last thing that I was missing. I knew the people there at the Humane Society. The dogs were keeping me company, and I was doing good. And so shortly after starting, also work was good, and I had the opportunity to go back to school. So I started a program to pursue an advanced degree in cybersecurity. And it was kind of like at the height of everything's just going perfect. I had so much positive energy just crackling. I could feel it. And it was wonderful. Well, now here's where the story takes a little change. So we celebrated Lindsey's birthday in March by going out to dinner, and we were leaving the restaurant at about 8:30 at night, and it was pouring down rain. Those of you familiar with the Pacific Northwest know we're talking like sometimes sideways rain where if the umbrella even stays open, you're holding it straight out in front of you. And so we can't see anything. We actually get attacked by the police. They most likely several assailants, and I was able to take most of the attention, and but Lindsey got knocked down, and then she also had all of her fingernails pulled back because she was trying to pull someone off of me after I had been taken down to the ground. And so and I got hit across the head with a metal rod or some metal pipe or rod or something. Luckily, I have pretty big ears, and my ear took the blunt of that force. However, I did suffer a pretty good injury and had a cerebrospinal fluid leak. So I was leaking spinal fluid out of my skull. That was a lot of fun. So recovery was rough. I was really only in the hospital for a day, but then I had some recurring things going on. But so they released me. I had a broken nose, torn ligaments everywhere, both ACLs, pretty much everything in both shoulders was just torn up, and then and I couldn't walk on my left leg at all, and so the day after I get home, I have to reset my Apple password, and so I reset it. It fits my usual thing. I've got a sort of a cycle that I use and how I change my passwords. And it's funny because I have never really had trouble with that. I have my my protocol, you could say, and I remember passwords pretty well. So I changed my password, and then the next day, I'm like laying. I can't do anything. I'm laying on the couch. This cerebrospinal fluid leak keeps changing the pressure in my head, so I keep getting these headaches, and so I have to lay down and just randomly throughout the day. And I'm not a napper. That was new to me, and so the next day, and all I'm doing is laying around. The next day, it asked me for a password, and I don't remember it. And I'm like, ugh, that's weird. I remember the prompt. I remember what time it was. I remember that I was standing at the kitchen counter. and I remember everything surrounding it, and I can't remember that password. And this is where Lindsey likes to inject humor and say, "Oh, now you feel like what the rest of us feel on any given day." But it was scary because that had never happened before, and so then over the course of the next few days, I noticed a few other things that are kind of weird, and so in cybersecurity, there's a lot of codes and a lot of math and things like that. I noticed that I'm not grasping new concepts anymore, and I can't remember digits longer than 5 digits, and I'm trying to do coursework. I'm like, okay, I'm laid up, I'm gonna need some recovery time, but I can make a huge dent in my schooling here. And I was doing a scripting. There's a scripting course, which is basically a small program built to just do like one thing, and then it does its thing and shuts off. So it's not a huge thing. Well, it's a language that I'm not familiar with, and I noticed that I can't get it. I'll study something and it'll make sense, and then the next time I look at it, it'll be brand new again. And so yeah, it was a TBI, brain injury, and the hard part was, so I knew my physical stuff was gonna be a few days. Way underestimated that. For those of you that have seen me, not super recently, but have seen me wearing my tights that are actually supportive tights. But I haven't worn them in several weeks now, so we're getting there. But so I noticed I'm obviously noticing my physical stuff, but that's gonna heal, that's fine. But then with the stuff going on with my brain, it was really scary, and it really, that I was knocked down physically, but that really knocked me down. That knocked down my energy, my outlook, my hope, just everything was just immediately, drained, and just very quickly. And so I started having difficulty then with school, so I put that on hold, and I'm like, I don't want to get bad scores, and I'm not making any progress, so we're gonna pause that. And then I remember the next day after making that decision, Lindsey came into the living room, and I was already sitting there, and I start crying, and it finally hit me that I didn't have the dog stuff. I didn't have the ability to take the dogs for the walks and post things on their social media anymore. And I was really, really mad because these jerks. Oh, okay, let me go back. So, people are probably wondering what happened with the incident. I was knocked unconscious. It was traumatic for Lindsey, so she doesn't have a really good memory, but shortly after I was knocked unconscious, everyone ran away. The police just happened upon her helping me up, and they tracked, all they got was my phone, and they got my global entry card, which you almost never need. And so that's all they got off of me. And so I'm like, haha, because it's a dead phone, it's locked, you can't use it, and whatever. The police tracked it though to a homeless camp, and then chose not to pursue it any further. And I was like, okay, so that's what we know. And so when I talk about these jerks, all they got from that was an unusable phone and an unusable piece of plastic, and I suddenly got really angry because what they actually took away was my ability to take these dogs for walks and do the pictures and help the community. And so that's when it really kind of got to me, really hit me, and I was really mad about that. So so I didn't let it stop me 100%. I was able to go back after I healed up quite a bit. I was able to go back and take a few more pictures of a few of the older, bigger dogs. But that was in March of this year, and then we got on the boat January 20. I guess it would have been January 20 or July 24th. So we're looking at 4-ish months, and I had kind of been blinded temporarily or distracted. This new adventure is coming up. This is going to be good. Everything's going to be great, and we're going to have so much to share and talk about, and that kind of thing. At the same time, Lindsey had started a new job after finishing that contract with the dance studio, and she was hired with the expectation that she would be working remotely and from all around the world. And they, her superiors were like, "Hey, that's great. Yep, not a problem." They have most of their people they work with are 1099s, contractors anyway, and so they weren't too worried about that. However, she had just started, and so the first big actual team meeting was going to be on the morning after we embarked in Anchorage. Excuse me. And so that first morning, she's very nervous. I'm their tech guy, ready to solve anything that needs solved, just in case. And it was 10:07 by the time we got onto the 5th floor. Our cabin Wi-Fi wasn't working, so she went to log on. We couldn't get it to work. Did some resetting and whatever. Brand new to the ship, we didn't know everything about it. So we're like, okay, what we need to do now is really the only thing is we have to find you a quiet spot. And so it was after quiet time in the library, so we go into the library at 10:07, and there's no one in there. And so we're like, this is perfect. Off in the corner, she's got her headphones in, she speaks quietly. Okay, this is fine. And so like she's 7 minutes late to the meeting at that point, but everything is working and it's going good. And then, as it turns out, we had made a mistake with the time zone. I think it was actually my mistake, and it was 9:07. Quiet time in the library was not over yet, and someone came up and said to me, "Why is she on a Zoom call, or why is she on a video call?" And I was like, "Well, it's after quiet hours." And he said, "No, it's not." And I looked and I said, "It's 10:07," and he said, "It's 9:07." And I said, "Okay, I'll figure it out." And then he turns to her and loudly says, to try to interrupt the call, "What are you doing making calls here?" or something like that. And it was really loud, and it was trying to interrupt her work call. So that was the way we started that morning. So we pack her up, move her over to somewhere else, and then just so everyone knows, anyone I mentioned is off the ship and will remain anonymous. So so that was our morning. We kind of regather things, get her set up, and then I'm approached by this person later, and was very this person was very aggressive in coming up to me, and so I paused in the middle of the hallway, and while they were talking, their hand hit my hand, which was pretty much next to my side. That's how close we were. And instantly there, I knew something else had happened. That night I had gotten a good case of PTSD. I could not handle what was happening, and I froze. And then when their hand hit my hand, I got scared. I got really, really scared. And I was and kind of just took off down the hall. And so I had been assigned a buddy, and my buddy on the ship, I said, hey, here's what happened. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. They basically took my hand, walked me through everything, talked me through everything, and they were really there for me and for Lindsey, and so that was very nice. That was very good. And then the following night, or I'm sorry, maybe it was that night. It was that night we were introduced to someone else, or we were introduced to someone by someone else, and later on we saw them in the evening and started chatting with them, and they were instantly very, very abrasive and sarcastic and rude. This first thing out of their mouth was just insane to me, and so I just said, oh well, thank you now for communicating clearly, we will leave you alone. And we left, and then there was so then Lindsey got upset, and someone else on the ship, Lindsey told this story at the last light at night, briefly. I wanted to share the whole thing because it all kind of wraps into a nice package here. And so when so someone noticed that Lindsey was crying, came up, and just immediately also started crying and saying, sorry, we're not all bad. It's like, don't, you know, I'm sorry this happened. I realize you guys are new. I haven't seen you before. And I was like, yeah, we've had a rough couple of first days. And she brought us into her friend group, and everyone kind of really just took us in. So since those first, you could call them speed bumps, I suppose, we've really grown to love the community and really feel like we're a part of it. My main purpose in telling about the rough start is because I think that as we meet people, like I've said, it's easy to forget that everyone has their own background that you're not aware of. And so what I wanted to do was kind of take that concept and share my story so that people can kind of see that you know, we don't always know where someone is coming from, and it's easy to assign intention and positive energy. Even if you see a situation that you might not like, positive energy is pretty powerful. And so I'd like to talk about these positive energy moments that we had on the ship that were kind of helped us get past that rough start, which I will say is completely behind us. And I'm only telling this story for the sake of how it fits into you know, how we should be interacting with each other, just in general. So with that, wonderfully fun story. No, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about and use juggling as a method to do so. Is talk about how positive energy works and sometimes how it doesn't work, and perhaps what it needs to be able to work. And so I was juggling. So with my head injury, I started juggling. And again, I hadn't juggled for a while, but I thought, anything that has some muscle memory attached to it that can help with that neuroplasticity and healing of the brain, that it might give me a head start, let's say. And it occurred to me, when I was thinking about energy, as Kip mentioned, I've done a lot of thinking about growth mindsets and the Explorist Mindset, which is creating everything or approaching everything like it's an exploration, and it occurred to me, this was before even getting on the ship, that positive energy is a lot like juggling. And when I got injured, it was like I was juggling an 8-ball cascade, doing tricks left and right, and everything was perfect. And then after that night, I dropped every single ball, and so I had zero energy. And so I picked up my juggling balls and I started practicing, and I started to see how there is sort of a pretty good correlation between juggling and positive energy. So when I'm sitting in front of the TV, it's pretty easy to be positive. I'm just sitting there. Let's say I start reading, I start learning, I start doing something productive, creates even more positive energy. Start exercising, even more positive energy. But that's still me. That's like me just sitting here doing this, right? Now I introduce some positive energy into someone else. I meet someone else. I give someone a compliment. I start a relationship, start a friendship, whatever that is. And now I've got a couple of things going on. It's more complicated. It's more to pay attention to, but that's cooler, isn't it? I mean, I'd rather watch that than just someone doing this. And it occurred to me that the reason I was so hurt emotionally by not being able to do my part with the dogs that needed adopted was that community and all of that stuff that I had built up, and it was all this positive energy that was feeding other people. Then these dogs got to go to these great homes, and then more positive energy, and it was just this thing that kept creating more and more positive energy. And so that's sort of the correlation. And so what does that mean, though? So Alfred Adler, one of the forefathers of psychology, said that every problem is an interpersonal problem. So what does that mean? So that helps explain why me sitting by myself not doing anything, it's easy to be positive. I'm not trying, I'm not going outside of my comfort zone, I'm not trying to help someone fix a problem, not doing anything. So as long as I'm sitting there by myself, no problem. Now once I start to go out into the community, if I want to build something, if I want to create something, if I want to even enjoy friends, that takes energy, it takes effort. And I think the biggest point, though, that this can make is the effort is worth it. And I can say that, and the reason why I wanted to tell my whole story is because that was me when I first started juggling again after my head injury. Then left. And now I'm doing this in front of a group of people while talking. And I'd like to present that. I'd like to present that as proof that it is worth it. It is worth giving a little extra, spending a little extra time, inviting people in is another thing that can create energy, even positive, like especially positive energy. That was a new thing for me. I used to not let people in. I didn't need help. I didn't need anything. I love helping. I've always loved helping, but I didn't need anything. And if I needed something, it would be, worst case scenario, my car's broken down and, broken leg, and okay, maybe now I can ask somebody for some help. But this experience actually taught me that when I say, hey, I'm not at 100%, the people around you are like, I've got a couple percent. Here's a couple percent. How much do you need? And that actually does create positive energy. So I'd like to take a step back and talk about how else the boat and the people in it have improved given me positive energy and actually improved my health and my mental health. So Lindsey, my wife, is a professional dancer, and she has always wanted to dance with me, ballroom dance. We've never really had I would say we've had opportunities, but we never really prioritized it. We've always also been, side quest folks and adventurers. So we've always got a million things going, and side hustles, even with our main gigs or in school or whatever it might be. And so we just hadn't really prioritized it. Well, when we got on the ship, we saw the programming for some ballroom classes. And she said, would you do this with me? And we went to the first one, and I said, this is really hard for me. So my brain wasn't going as fast as I wanted it to, and as fast as I was used to it going. And so I would miss steps and get out of sync and just be lost, and I couldn't get back in to the steps. And so we started doing it. She said, well, what if I talk you through everything? So we practiced in the cabin. She walked me through things. She created quick, easy ways to tell me what's coming next. She recently helped, teach the choreography for a dance for Diwali for the ship, and so those people can attest to that. The dip the ice cream, make the rainbow. And so she would come up with these things for me, and so as we're dancing, and she would also count for me. I don't know, like, whoever's counting or if there's no one counting, it didn't matter. I only listened to her, and she got me to do the right steps. Well, after the first couple of weeks, I noticed that I wasn't relying on listening to her as much, and things were coming a little bit quicker. That might be a little bit fast on the timeline. It might not have been 2 weeks. It might have been more like a month. But at some point, I noticed that I'm starting to get the dance moves better than I was, and the timing, and everything about the whole dance thing. Excuse me. And then I had a security code come in that I had to get on my phone and type into my keyboard, and it was longer than usual. It was 9 or 10 digits, and I did it without, and I was just like, okay, and I stopped. Sorry. I stopped and realized that I just did more digits in a row than I had been able to since my injury. And the only thing that makes sense to attribute to is the dance, because dance was hard for me, and it was helping build up those parts of my brain, and then all of our dancers that learn dance with us, dance teachers, everyone's been very, very helpful and forgiving, and it has just been a really, really wonderful thing. Just recently, I started to go back to my old my course that I quit during, and I went back and looked at some of that material, and I was like, you know what? I think that I could make this work. If not now, very soon, again. So the dance community on the ship, and then everyone that came out to support the dance, and were like, Kevin, I can't believe you are out there. And I said, that makes two of us. I can't believe it myself. And just dancing for people, and also the dancing for people part. When you're just in a dance class, that's kind of one thing. You've got a lot of eyes on you. It meant that it was harder work for me. The stakes were higher, and so it was a lot of work. And I think that work, though, really, really got me to a healthier place with my brain, and and that kind of thing. So with juggling, the thing that can happen, right? So you're juggling, and like with my incident, or maybe there's small things throughout the day, something can happen, and you drop a ball, or someone drops one for you, and you can either try to recover, and I'm going to try to recover here. Okay, getting close. One more try, let's see. This might not happen, and that's okay. I'm exploring. Okay, it's not gonna happen. Okay, so what happens is, let's say you've got 3 people in a friendship, and someone has an issue, and or bad day, or whatever. There's a miscommunication, something happens, and then let's say that person is the ball that's dropped. We've got these other 2 people who, they're fine again, but it's not as exciting as having that third person. It's not as interesting. And so you can go on, and you can say just avoid that person, and you can go on, and you can be this way, just with the 2 of you, or you can find someone else. You can go back to 3. But then what if you've got a combination of picking up those dropped balls and then adding some new things, and those might be special tricks, like this one. And so as you continue, I feel like a combination of picking up those dropped balls, adding more tricks in, adding more excitement. It takes work. It takes energy, but it gives energy too. There's a quote that I'm going to misquote because I didn't plan this out, I just thought about it. So imagination is something that the more you use, the more you have, or creativity is the more you use it, the more you have of it. And I feel like that's positive energy as well. The more you use it, the more you get. So if you're providing positive energy to the people around you, it's going to be reflected from them. It's also going to be taken in by them. It's going to be made greater and then given back. And if we have that all going all around us, just imagine where we'll be and how happy and healthy all of us will be. How are we on time? Haven't been paying attention.
I've got you.
Okay. Okay. So, to finish this off, I want to talk about something that was taught to me in business school that turns out to be incorrect. That never happens, right? I was taught that in creating a relationship for like a sales relationship or a partnership in business, you have to have 3 positive interactions before you can have a challenge to create trust, or problem, or I say challenge, but it could be anything. 3 positives before there's a negative. And since then, people have said, well, there's no way to say 3 positives and 1 negative, because what if the 3 positives are $8 million payment and the 1 negative is you missed a call? So that doesn't balance out right. So now what they say is you just have to look at the interactions you have. And so when you meet someone, when you introduce yourself, when you invite people to be a part of your life, actually, your activity, your game, whatever it is, the positives have to offset the negatives, especially at first. And so I try to keep that in mind. And this is also, I'll throw this out there now. I wanted to do this talk for me so that I can learn and I can get this ingrained. I'm not an expert. I wanted to do this talk because I'm working on this. And so I think if we could remember that the positives have to outweigh the negatives when you're interacting with someone at first, or they just won't trust you. You could say, well, I'm honest. That's fine, but you won't have their trust. And that's what science shows is just the case. There's a big, well-known 5-to-1 ratio that talks about healthy marriages and healthy relationships, and they say that not just everyday life, but during a situation where it's a disagreement or you're not seeing eye to eye, even during that time when you're not agreeing, you have to have 5 positives for every negative that occurs. Again, you can say, well, this positive wasn't as good as how bad this negative was, or something like that. But in general, assuming they're all the same, let's say, that's a lot. When you're disagreeing with your spouse, to have 5 positive encounters for every 1 negative. If if you're angry and you express that's 5 positives before the next time you can say something negative. So to think about that, I think it's unrealistic to start walking around with a notepad with everyone's name on it and keeping track of where you are. But I feel like if we're aware of that and just let that sink in for a minute, and maybe think about that every once in a while. That's the ratio that we're working with, even when we're like not getting along or disagreeing on something. So those were the final facts and figures that I wanted to end with. Now I'm going to end with attempting a final trick, which is why we're in the Neptune, because I might need to throw one of these balls up pretty high. So here we go. We're going to try it. All right. Okay, one more try. I dropped the ball, I picked it up. Here we go, one more. Dang!
So close.
Okay, well thank you all. We get the spirit of the trick.
I'll do it quick. I'll do it quick.
Oh, sure.
What town in Oregon?
Okay, so the town where we were staying, I'm so amped up, now I forget what it's called. Give me a second. We're so far removed.
Newport.
No, it's okay. If we're gonna guess, it's 15 minutes north of the California border.
Grants Pass.
Way west.
Where they have the Shakespeare.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No?
Give me a second.
Coos Bay.
South of that.
Gold Beach.
South.
Brookings.
There you go.
Brookings.
Brookings. Also, we're experiencing something that happened with my head there. So, yeah, Brookings. That's not where the incident took place. That place shall remain nameless.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something you said really resonates with me. You said you liked helping, but you didn't feel like you needed help from anyone else until you had this horrible experience. Do you think you would have ever gotten to that point where you accept help if you hadn't had a horrible experience like that?
It would have been a lot slower if it ever happened, but I don't foresee it ever happening if not. No, I don't think so. Yeah.
So sometimes bad things are good.
Repeat her comment.
Yeah, sometimes bad things are good. That's a really good question. I think sometimes good things can come from bad things. I don't want to excuse what happened to me. They're not off the hook. I don't think that's right, and I don't say, oh well, I'm okay now, it's fine. That behavior can continue with other people. No, should never happen. But good things can come from things, and I think it depends on your outlook, and I think it depends on the support you have with you. If Lindsey wasn't there, I probably would have just shrunk away into the couch. I don't know. And so yeah, she supported me a lot through that. Got me to stand up more often than I wanted to, and things like that. And so it wasn't just I didn't just get better by juggling on the couch. Lindsey was a major part. Yeah.
I was wondering if you can identify what sort of mental capacities were most affected by this. I mean, is it memory recall? Is it working with numbers? Is it reading? Was it and in trying to identify that, is there any connection to, say, dancing or juggling that helped restore that?
So I think there is, because of the times that I took up each. So I started juggling, and I started getting a little bit better in terms of being able to plan out multi-step solutions. So one of the problems that I was having when I was creating a computer script to solve a problem is I had to think about it first, and I had to say, okay, the program needs to do this, then it needs to do this, then it needs to do this, and I couldn't hold all that in my working memory. And so with juggling, that part started getting better. I started being able to plan things better. So planning, even planning travel things and having, sequences, or this needs to happen for this to happen and then this can happen. That helped. That got way better after I started juggling. Then, so I've talked about, so there's that sort of problem solving thing that was difficult for me. And then the sequences of numbers was the other thing that really got to me, and I would say that the math that I was having trouble with has gotten better as well. But I think all the number stuff came from dance, and so once I started dancing, all of a sudden, without other things changing, really, once I added dance to the numbers thing, I was better at math, and then I could remember longer strings, and I'm about to where I was, but it was I don't remember if I told this little story during it at that time or not, but it was really when I was explaining to Lindsey, I was like, I can only remember 6 digits, and I'm like crying, I can only remember 6 digits at once, and she's like, okay, that's pretty normal. And I'm like, I know, but I can do better. And so she likes to joke and say that that some of what happened was it just brought me down to earth. So yeah, Kevin.
I have had a pretty rough couple of days.
Sorry to hear that.
And after dinner, which I got to an hour later than I planned, I was that few minutes to stop back in my room. And I said to myself, I'm here in the room. This is a great place to be. I can fall asleep right now and not worry about it. And then I said, no, I need to be there. And I'm not sure exactly why, but it turned out I needed to be here because the whole example of supporting people was just what I needed to hear and experience and share. And the first thing I said when I got down here was, one Kevin needs to support another before you got up there.
Yes, absolutely.
And then in the middle of, towards the end of your talk, you were saying, I don't know how I'm doing on time. And Kit said, I got you. I got you covered.
Yeah.
And there's another example of it happening.
Yeah.
And it's just, on the way down to here, somebody said to me, how's your injury going? How are you recovering? And I said, I need some help. And it was obvious because I had this on and you mean like just to put this over your shoulder? And I said, yes, that's what I need. So I'm getting help now that I wasn't getting before, wasn't looking for it, because I need it.
Yeah.
The community is here to step out and cover us.
Absolutely.
And if you wanted a theme song for your whole presentation, it would be from way back in the 30s about accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative.
Okay.
Or you've got a friend.
Or
Yeah.
lean on me.
You know what's funny is I thought about playing an intro or an outro song and nothing really came to mind. But obviously that wasn't on the priority list. So I was just thinking about that this afternoon. But I guess I should have reached out and asked for some help. We have some great ideas. Yeah.
Did you know how to juggle before?
Oh, good question.
Or did you learn it as the process?
Yeah, good question. So I actually learned juggling when I was 13. And I was even I was getting paid to do it. I was working the nursing home circuit, doing birthdays, that kind of thing. And so, but then I had, I just kind of forgot about that for a very long time. And I didn't start that up until a doctor suggested some things that I could do, and I said, what about juggling? And she was like, yes. absolutely. And so that's why I got back into juggling for that. Yeah. Yes.
Kevin, you know who I am.
I do.
And I'm going to come up front
Yes.
because this matters. And I hope I don't cry while I say this.
It's okay if you do. Okay.
You and Lindsey have contributed so much to this community in the last few months. It blows my mind. And people have even mistaken you for paid crew members.
Yeah.
Even though you have done this out of the goodness of your hearts. All the dancing, all of the light at night, all of the talks. Just thank you.
Well, you're all very welcome.
And I want to say, I'm so sorry that not everybody on this ship treated you very well.
No.
But
It's
we
great.
love you.
We love you.
Well, we love you all too. Thank you. And I will say, I'd like to follow up and say that the reason why our next segment we had to put on hold is really strictly because of the practicality of needing internet and not being exactly sure how that's going to go as we get into some of these other areas. And so it was a difficult decision. We decided to take some time away from the ship just for that. We love you all, and we are happy to be returning when just as soon as that happens. So so we're taking a couple months here in Australia to hang out, and then a couple months in the UK, and that much we've kind of planned out. And after that, we'll be ready to come back as soon as we can. So.
We look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you.
Kevin, that was wonderful.
Thank you.
You have a wonderful outlook on mindset and positive energy. Thank you for sharing that with us. I think we all can learn more about that. So, thanks.
Thank you.